How's everyone doing tonight? For those of you who don't know us, we're Maddy's older brothers, bigger older brothers, aka Ice and Johnson, as she endearingly called us as she was a child.
We want to give a shout out to the Lawler family, Kathy and John for a beautiful dinner last night. Matt and Dee, thank you guys for hosting. So tonight we're going to unite possibly one of the most formidable Irish clans of families on earth. Mostly because the Lawlers are enormous people and the Reaveys have an enormous capacity to drink.
Ain't that the truth? Also, a quick shout out to two of the most lovely and charismatic women in the house tonight, other than our darling sister, Posh and Grammy June. Without you two, none of this would be possible. Thank you so much. Special shout out to you two. So yeah, you guys just got married. That just happened. That's actually funny because we had a similar reaction when you asked us to speak at your wedding. On your behalf, we grew up with you. You know who we are. You know what we know. And you asked us to speak at your wedding in front of all your friends, your family, your in-laws. And that happened. So at first we were a little intrigued, cautiously curious, but mostly absolutely terrified.
So because we want to get into why we were terrified, let's talk about why we were honored. So for those of you who know us well, she was pretty adorable growing up. Thanks to my mom, who had us in matching head-to-toe unisex homemade garb that she considered fashionable. We formed the ambiguously androgynous Lollipop Kids. like Lollipop Kids meets Children of the Corn. The three of us were inseparable. Her brothers, her protectors, her confidants. Whether it was out of confusion of how our mother dressed us, she was one of the bros. Only distinguishable by her pink blanket, her mime.
Rest in peace, mime. Is that thing still kicking? Still kicking? All right, good. You do you. Don't ever let that go. Don't ever let that go. Yeah, so Maddy was pretty adorable. She was edible, I would say, almost. Going back through the pictures and just talking about the speech and looking at her, I don't know, I can't describe it, you just had an absolutely edible personality. But for those of you who weren't exposed to that Maddy, it will come as no surprise to you. Maddy's a pretty tough cookie. Like a teeny package, cute little tiny on the outside, but with the ability to bite your freaking head off if you so much as cross her. She's the physical embodiment of a wolf in sheep's clothes. What she lacks in size, she more than makes up for in ferocity. For better or for worse. Sure, John and I were pretty wild, pretty rambunctious growing up. We had our moments, as our cousins could attest to, but we may have had an influence on her development, but for whatever reason, she ended up being an absolute battle axe in her later years. But needless to say, as soon as she could start forming words, she was the undisputed queen of the family. And there wasn't anything that her father or her brothers or any of the Reavey men wouldn't do for her.
So she was never afraid to assert her authority, but as she got older, her methods became slightly more Machiavellian, like evil genius status. She knows how to hold a grudge, and she never forgets. You take her blanket away from her, and she would push her away from her, or push her out of the way in the mad dash to get to the back seat of the Volvo. And then a week later, you'd be hanging out with her, having a good time, and she'd somehow end up close to you, and boom, right in the nuts. She'd hit you with a whisper later. That was her last week. You did not mess with Maddy without suffering the consequences. and regretting the day that you did. This is when Maddy went from being Meech, or Peapod, or as our father used to endearingly call her, Mad Dog, to Mad Dog, or Sasquatch. Maddy also developed a keen sense for discretion. Ellis would throw parties and get grounded for a summer. I was just always grounded. Maddy literally did the same or worse, but seemingly never got caught.
Literally never got caught. How did you do that? So, well, this may come as no surprise to some of you who know Jonathan and I particularly. Maddy's by far the smartest and most cunning of the Reavey tribe. She's wicked smart. While Jon and I spent our college careers striking fear into the hearts of undrinking beers everywhere and terrifying our respective college campuses, Maddy was doing things more like spending her time in the 19th floor of the Empire State Building influencing the trade relationships between Spain and the United States. No matter what Maddy has done, she's always shined.
So Maddy developed such survival skills that it took the sheer force of a 6'5" Sasquatch of a boyfriend to stop her in her tracks. Sure, Maddy had other boyfriends, but she killed them all. Kidding, we killed them all. But seriously, the only way that you could get to Maddy without risking death was with words of making fun of her boyfriends, which wasn't hard to do, they were all nerds. So I remember hearing about Mike the first time. My dad called me while I was living down in New Orleans, and he said, "Hey John, your sister, she's dating a guy. He's 6'5". He's a Harvard offensive lineman." I already didn't like it. And my friends overheard and our conversation. They were like, "Dude, John, what's it like to know that your sister's dating Shaquille O'Neal?" So finally, once I made my way back home to finally meet him, I gave him the cold shoulder for as long as I could, until I realized this kid is so unbelievably nice, extremely intelligent, and just magnetic. Madeleine demands nothing but the best, and she expects perfection, and she found that in Mike.
And nothing could be truer. Mike might be the most perfect guy who has he's completely oblivious to how perfect he is, which makes him even more perfect. He is hands down the most genuine, and these are words that are commonly repeated throughout the night, so you know these are true things. Most genuine, sincere, jolly, literally this list is like 2 sentences long now that I'm looking at it. Genuinely sincere, jolly, good-natured, patient, loving guy I've ever met. Like to the point where it's absolutely maddeningly annoying. Freaking drives me insane. Seriously, everything about Mike, except for your driving, dude, your driving is literally the worst driving I've ever experienced. You're like driving Miss Daisy, except Daisy's driving. But seriously, everything about Mike is perfect, from his family, his friends, which we got smoked in Spikeball today. I was kind of expecting us to show up a little bit.
A little embarrassing.
Yeah, you guys are good then. You guys are good. Yeah. So, but seriously, everything from your friends to your family to your smile, and now that you're a Bread Loaf graduate, even your freaking grammar is perfect. But so is my sister. My sister is the most beautiful, smart, sarcastic, incredibly funny woman I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. She's the crown jewel of our family, and as my dad once observed, so is Mike. He said, what Maddy has here is what we like to call it, Christopher Reavey form, is a gem. We call Mike a gem. And I hope she realizes that he is a gem. And that she can't do better than a gem. And Maddy, he was right. Maddy, you lucked out. He's the most handsome Clark Kent looking intellectual goofball to temper her, let's say, finer points. He has the patience and good nature to handle her most severe neuroticisms, and the lightness and undying optimism and positivity to make the most of their many, many amazing times past and future to come. And I've never, ever, honestly, truly seen her as at ease or as happy as she is when she is with Mike. So, let's please raise your glass one more time.
Mike, we are so honored to be able to call you our brother and happy to have you join the list of Reavey men who watch over, dope, and love our little sister. Congratulations. We love you both.
Let's party.
Let's party.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Strong showing, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
You're right about the driving, though.
Oh, it's the worst.